Saturday, the 27th of February 2021. Welcome back to the Match Reaction Show on the Seasiders podcast. Today we're reacting to what we just witnessed at the Valley, which was a tremendous 3-0 victory for the Pool. And I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast Match Reaction Show. Happy Valley. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast Match Reaction Show, and we've got a fine show ahead of us. Always better on a 3-0 win. Happy Valley, and Matt's joining us this evening, and I could see you smiling, Matt, when I announced the name of this show was Happy Valley. Perhaps influenced from yourself there.
Yes, John asked earlier in the week about whether we were going to add some sort of, I don't know, what do you call them, John? Little taglines or whatever for the show notes. And so I gave him a few scenarios this morning based on, so it was either Happy Valley or Death Valley, depending on today's result.
I like the flexibility you've given me there. One for a defeat, one for a win.
Yeah, well, you know, sort of covers all bases, doesn't it? So I'm glad it was the first one that I typed out that we're happy to produce tonight. Good stuff.
What was the other one? Charlton and the Winnies?
Charlton and the Wheelies have come off, and Jordan. What did I put? Stockley Parked. That was it. Yeah. So there you go. So that was Stockley Parked.
I missed that one. What did that?
Yeah. No, Jordan Stockley and Stockley Park. It was obviously way above your intelligence level, John.
It is, yeah. Take a lot.
Happy Valley, though, we'll stick with.
Yeah, Happy Valley. So it was a happy the Valley, or Valley Parade, as I first called it on the show notes. So got happily corrected by numerous people on Twitter there, as you do. Tim's here as well. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening. I'm glad to see you.
You've almost got Sam's man bun. So if you look above you, no, not actually on your head.
Oh yeah.
That was perched on top of Sam's.
What was that player who used to have the pineapple on his head? What was he called?
Jason Lee.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm glad that Matt's joined me in the crypt tonight because
yeah.
Welcome, Matt.
It's a little bit gloomy, isn't it, out there?
Bison's calls your camera Fright Night, doesn't he, Tim?
Yeah. And we've got guesting from Singapore tonight, I see. So welcome, Wong. He's posted the messages there that he's joined us here. Unfortunately, he's a Manchester United fan. We'll have to retrain you, Wong.
Where's that?
Right at the top of the list there on the comments.
Wong.
There you go.
One can tie.
Yeah, you need to be a Blackpool fan, mate. Come on, get with the groove. If
you want your name back on, Wong, I suggest next time you come on air, that Man United shirt changes to tangerine. So that's your challenge. Yeah, we're doing our bit for the club there, selling 50 quid's worth of merch. That's the Far East. So there you go. Even though they've ripped off our show, but we won't go into that, will we?
No.
We've got some competition now, haven't we?
We have. Yeah, we have. But anyone who listened to Sam's show yesterday, it was a great show. It was really good. I'm sure we had Sean McKinley on as well. So yeah, I really recommend listening to the Friday night preview show if you haven't done so already. Right, welcome everybody in the comments. Thanks for joining us. The coach is here as ever. I'm getting everyone to watch live football this season, even if it kills me. #trust the process. I don't get that.
Well, if we get to the playoff final, we'll be able to go. Well, 5,000 of us will anyway.
Yeah, we'll get on anyway. We'll be on there. We'll season ticket holders. Right, let's go into the game then. Charlton 0, Blackpool 3. We've conceded 2 goals in 6. First time we've won back-to-back at the away all season. 5 out of 6 wins. We've scored 12 in 6. CJ and Medina about to return. First win at the Valley since 1979. We've got 4 so-called easy games coming up, Tim. So it's happy days, isn't it? So anyway, let's move on to the team lineups quickly, as we always do. So we've got Chris Maxwell, John Gabriel, also the surnames. It's our Ballard, Husband, Garbutt, Stewart, Virtue, Ward, Kai, Yates, and Sim. So, Tim, they've listened to the podcast again, our central midfield request, and it's come true again, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think we've been banging the drum that if Virtue's going to play, he needs to play centre mid. I think they probably, when you look at the team, the surprise, and I think it most certainly that was a bit of a shock. Never mind the surprise, was that Dougal was dropped to the bench. But bearing in mind how he played particularly in the last game, where I thought he was exceptional. But yeah, we all know that Matty Virtue is not a winger, and playing him out there is a waste of a shirt for him. It's no good for him, and it's most certainly no good for Blackpool Football Club. So it was great to see Matty take a more central role, and obviously we've I've not worked the team around him, but we've set a team up that allows for an attacking central midfield player, which is something, to be honest, we've been missing all season, haven't we? And as we'll go on to, Matty's got his virtues, and that includes, obviously he gets in the box, and he's got a shot on him, and we haven't been contributing enough goals from midfield, and I think as we'll go on to discuss, I think the decision to select him where he played, it was more than justified.
I apologise for that. I stupidly haven't brought a drink. My voice was about to go. Matt, have you passed comments on the starting lineup at all?
Yeah, similar to everybody else. I think really we were probably just surprised that Dougal was omitted, given that he and Kevin Stewart had played alongside each other over the last couple of 3 games. Albeit, I mentioned a couple of pods ago that it didn't seem right, the balance in a way. There was sort of like almost two solid players between them. And we're lacking a little bit of creativity, which, we've sort of lacked all season, let's be honest, but from that middle part. But obviously we haven't touched on that just before kickoff, James Husband was injured. Not quite sure what's happened. I don't know whether it's come out necessarily, but he just had a leg sort of injury, didn't it, through Twitter and what have you. So that was obviously a little bit of a blow. But fortunately, looking at the bench, we had Jordan Thornley, who could obviously step in. And then it was Nathan Shaw, wasn't it, who was brought in to fill the quota up on the bench. But other than that, I think, it was exactly as Tim sort of said, really. We wanted, if Virtue's going to play, he needs to play in the centre.
So it proved to be the case. So the game itself then, Tim, how do you think Blackpool started the game, and talk us up to that moment, up to, including the penalty?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it was that we played particularly well today or that they were particularly shocking, and I suspect it was a combination of the two, to be honest. But I'm trying to think about the early phases of play. For me, just generally, we seem to start well. We seem to have an extra touch on the ball. And the other thing that sort of came out even from the very early exchanges was that every time they went for a challenge, they committed a foul. And obviously that had repercussions as the game went on. But I thought we started brightly. I thought, we were playing ball to feet. We were winning the 50-50s. And, that's what we want. We look like a confident team who has faith in, each player in that team has faith in the players around them, that if they're going to, knock the ball to them, if they're going to play them in, that the player, the receiving player is going to, knows what they're doing and is anticipating what they're doing. So I thought it was as I recall it, confident start, and just the type of performance that we've been crying out for this team to play on a consistent basis all the way through the season. So pleasing.
Of course, three wins on the spin as well. That's no mean feat. Matt, let's bring you in on the goal itself. Ellis Sims bundled over in the box by, I can never pronounce this guy's name. Is it Oshi? I'm that bad. I should join the Charlton commentary team, shouldn't I?
Absolutely, yeah. Just on that, I was impressed with our new Scottish midfielder today, Sully Kakai. I thought he played well.
I've written that down. I've got a few
Kakai
notes here.
Sorry, John.
I've written awful comms. Can everyone hear me? By the way, it's just the bicycle just said, "Oh, okay." Yeah, awful comms team, screechy woman commentator. She said, Maxwell, Kakai.
Kakai.
Calls us orange.
I know.
That bit when they're going, who's that? Is that Thornelly playing? Is he playing? I can't see him on the big screen.
You would just think as a commentator, at whatever level you're doing at, whether it be BBC London or whatever is down there, you just do the research in terms of how to pronounce the players' names, really. But I mean, the first, from a personal level, I just to go back on the start of the game, I thought we did start really well. The pitch was awful, wasn't it? It looked really bad. But I guess we adapted pretty well to the conditions. Maybe that's something that we're sort of used to being. Used to doing, really, with maybe training at Squires Gate for so long, who knows? But but onto the goal itself, it was a good ball. I think it was a Kakai that played it through, or Kakai that played it through, wasn't it? To Sims, who started off, if I remember right, sort of like a yard or two behind their centre half, got the right side of him. It was, it's one of those that it was a penalty, but it was. You just put your arms on him and he goes down, and he does what a centre forward should do in the circumstances, really. And to have a chance from 12 yards out after 9 minutes was ideal, wasn't it, as far as an away performance goes?
Tim Ellis Sims, he's come in for not criticism, but can do better over the last few pods, and he's had a great game today, and he's got himself inside the defender, hasn't he? And he's made the defender either let him go through or pull him down, and it was a nice little move, wasn't it, to win us that?
Yeah, point. I mean, I think I've been one of his critics, too strong a word, but I can't say I've been overly impressed. And my view of him has changed today. Today, they were putting aside the standard of the comms. They were eulogising about him and what a great signing he was for us. And to be honest, he was, he's a big unit, isn't he? If you look at the size of him, he's a big lad, and I thought he used his strengths today. And he was up against players who were a little bit shorter than him, maybe not quite as much bulk, and he used it to his advantage. And I just really struggled to cope with him all the way through the game. And that's a very, very impressive performance by a young lad who, by his own admission this week, is very much learning his trade. And that's what we want. We want, because to be honest, you normally think, I don't know how far, I don't know whether Medin's going to be fit for Tuesday or not, but you're normally thinking that Medin's fit, he's straight back in. Now you're thinking, well, could you actually drop Sims after the way he's played today? Because
maybe because Medin's close to getting fit, that he's thinking, right, I've got a rocket up my arse. I need a rocket up my arse.
But he was bullying there. He was I thought their defence was awful, but he was bullying them today. And that, in a young lad's bullying an experienced pro, that's great to see. Not bullying them in a nasty way, just bullying them with his physical presence.
I think like pinching his sweets off him and
yes, exactly.
I'll have your dinner money. Where's your dinner money?
I think what was interesting today was the way we sort of put the ball up to Sims, whereas in the past we just sort of like lumped it up to him. Whereas today it felt a little bit more measured, a bit more to his, not necessarily to his feet, because it wasn't that, it wasn't, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't the surface for playing it around on the deck, but it was almost like, sort of like drilled into his sort of chest area rather than just a big loopy 70-yard hoof from the back or something like that. And despite the guy being, 6'2", 6'3", or whatever, it doesn't seem to have the physicality as Medin does at all. And that's where they're going to differ. But he played really, really well today. And I think also at the start of the year, we were, there's a lot of things that weren't right. But it was today, I thought was how can I put it? It was like the first time where you you could look at that team and thought they knew exactly what the plan was and how to play to each other's strengths, and that gives us confidence, doesn't it, going forward? Hopefully.
One point
just to add to that as well, if I can, while that team, the teams out there looked a promotion challenging team today, and yet it was missing Dougal, Husband, Gretterson, Spud, Medine, and CJ. And I would say out of those 6, if you're picking your best Blackpool team, at least 4 start. And so I think Jeff has made the point on the thread on the message thread further up. We've got strength in depth, haven't we? We really, really have got strength in depth, and the way this season's playing out, we need it. I don't know what he'll do on Tuesday night, but he's dropped Dougal, but I'd fully expect Dougal to be back in on Tuesday night. And as we come into this 19-game run-in, particularly because we're so far behind everybody else, it's going to become a real team game. But I think we've actually now got about 15 or 16 players who any of those 15 or 16 you can play. I think there's probably only 2 or 3 players in the team who you'd really struggle to replace on the basis of what we've got at the moment. And Maxwell's one of them. I think probably at the moment Yates is one of them. And I'm trying to think who else I'd put into that category. From the point of view of who we've got available in the centre backs, we need to make sure that I think Ballard at the moment has to stay fit for us because of injuries elsewhere. But I'm starting to get quite excited about the way we're playing. To be honest, I think we look controlled and we look like we have a game plan. And I'm going to start trusting the process, I think.
Where's the coach when you need him? Where's Tom when you need him? Oh, he's here. Tom, baby bathed and fed. The missus let you loose.
Just fed, and then I ran away from the wife. So
Tom's joined me in the crypt as well.
rolling crypts tonight. It was nice and light in here before we started off. Max, what was he saying? He was asking about Nick's quiff. Is Nick having his quiff coffee-eared this evening? I think he was coffee-eared by his missus and he's forced to go for a walk or something.
He didn't just miss the goals, he missed the whole game, didn't he?
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Yeah, a 90-minute Smith is what we need if we're going to win 3-0 every week, isn't
it? We've not actually discussed the penalty. So, Tom, we're on Jerry Yates' penalty. We've discussed that. So, were you confident with his pen? And B, did you enjoy it because it was one of the down-the-middle varieties?
First one, yeah. Have we discussed whether it was a pen, sorry?
Have we? I don't think we have, actually.
I thought it was.
A light touch pen, yeah.
This is the first one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, just catching up. Yeah, the first one's 100% a penalty. He just... Ellis Sims really does well to get in front of his man, and he's not got the ball, and he's caught all man, and he's gone down. And Jerry Yates is, as I tweeted earlier, he's got ice in his veins, and the pen was brilliant. And I sort of have a lot of faith in him being our penalty taker because he hasn't missed all season. So
it always worries me when players don't have a big run up.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the opposite for me, actually. I think.
What do you mean?
Well, I prefer them not to take a big run up.
Oh, okay.
Do you know, to this today, I don't know what it was. When with both those penalties, I almost didn't have any thought that Yates was going to miss, and I don't know why. Because I'm normally really, I'm quite a negative. I have a negative aspect, as you well know. But with both of them, I didn't even cross my mind that he was going to miss them. And the last player that I sort of remember where I had that type of, I think it was actually, to be fair, I think I might be plagiarising something in the WhatsApp group during the game. But the last player I can recall having that type of thought process about when he's taking a penalty was Charlie. It just didn't even cross my mind. I thought, it's got a penalty, it's a goal.
I think
which is every credit to.
Matt Johnson's just made a decent shout. Something we've missed there. The weight of the pass from Kai. What was it, Matt?
Kakai.
The pass from Kai was superb. Yeah, it's a bit remiss that we we've not spoke about that.
Yeah. I did sort of try and pay him a compliment earlier. You know, in that, you know, he started off really well, and you know, he was quite pivotal to the first sort of you know, juncture of the game. Really, I thought he was almost everywhere. And his pass to Sims was perfectly weighted, wasn't it? So you know, all credit to him. And hopefully,
I bet Phil was creating himself over that pass.
Yeah, and hopefully this is it. You know, this is what's annoying about him, isn't it? You know, this is why he causes so many sort of arguments amongst fans, in that we can see the good side of him, and when we do, he's just such an asset to the team. So yeah, let's hope he just continues in this current form. Really.
Everyone else said I'm a bit muffled on the mics. I can hear myself.
You sound fine to me.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Likewise. Yeah.
So
Makes a change that it's not me getting grief anyway. So.
It does. I can hear myself fine being monitored. Hopefully it sorts itself out anyway. I may have to just drop off in a minute and let these guys continue. Right, so we're 1-0 up. We've gone. Next chance we had 21 minutes. Luke Garbutt, a free kick. Tom, were you confident with that kind of position? It's a decent area for Garbutt to get a shot on target on, slightly over.
Yeah, we've seen him score some good free kicks, especially for Ipswich. But yeah, he had every right to shoot, and I think Jeff touched upon it in the WhatsApp group. We don't seem to shoot a lot from those chances. So, in my opinion, if you're going to have a free kick from there, you got to give it a go, and don't do a little dink ball that's going to be cleared from the first man. So every credit for giving it a go, just wasn't on target. So.
Everyone else is sounding fine. John has a very short tongue. I don't know what's going on here. Are you all winding me up, viewers? I sound fine. Tim, have you paid them to say this?
And that was just
sort of revenge.
You know, there must be some telepathy going on, because I was just about to say, John, I've given him a few quid to wind you up. So
brilliant.
Right, so let's move on to the yellow card that was shown on Ellis Sims just inside the. Who's it? Oshileye. I can't. What's his name? Tom, you're good at these names. Deji Oshileye. I think he got sent off later anyway. But
the funniest thing, the commentator got the name right every time, but couldn't pronounce Maxwell.
Yeah.
What was it?
She went from calling him whatever she was calling him, Maxwell, to Maxwell, and then back to Maxwell again. It was beyond bizarre.
Got someone else in. I'm quite. Oh well. Sorry about that, folks. We'll just have to live with it. As long as you can, I'll have to shout, perhaps. So we've gone 1-0 up with the penalty, and as we've talked about on this pod previously, we want to see Virtue in there, Tim, for his drives forward and his more attacking play, and that has paid off on 39 minutes. Was it 38 minutes? Played in by I think it was Ellis Sims. Good work from Sims. He's played in Virtue. Virtue's been given the freedom of the Valley to get his shot away, and a great strike into the far corner.
Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic shot, isn't it? I mean, this is what Virtue brings to the side. You know, he's a 10. You know, you play him in that position all season. He's a 10 to 15 goal a season player, as I see it. He's and we saw, you know, we've seen it in previous seasons, haven't we? You know, you think back to the goals he scored at Aki and and Sunderland and other places. He's, you know, this isn't a one-off. This is what Virtue does, and I think whatever we do going forward, you know, I'm not saying he'll play every game, but I think Critchley's got to think about how he accommodates him in that attacking midfield role, because it will bring goals. It's undoubtedly he's a proven goal scorer for midfield. Probably our most again, I've mentioned him before, but probably our most regular midfield goal scorer since Charlie. You know, he's in the Paul Groves, Charlie Adam type of player who, from his goal scoring perspective, and we need, particularly because we don't score a lot from up front, and we're missing CJ at the moment, and he was scoring plenty from the right hand side. His contribution could be crucial in the running, and it was straight out of the top draw, that wasn't it today? I thought it was well hit into the corner, and keeper, he sort of made an effort to get across to it, but he was never going to get it, was he?
No, he's very good, isn't he, from outside the area? I'd like to know what his sort of goals per shots sort of ratio is really, because he hits the target more often than not. And as you know, he doesn't get. I mean, the space he was afforded today was ridiculous, which is why Charlton are obviously in the run that they are. They don't, they're not doing the. Oh, there you go, not closing down. They're not doing what we did. And I'll just touch on it actually. And I don't know if I can do that properly, but no, that's the wrong way. Anyway, there you go, something like that. A square is what I'm trying to do. I thought the Ellis, Sims, and Yates and Stewart and Virtue were magnificent today. The four of them, they just did so much work that it just prevented Charlton from getting anywhere near our half, let alone any further forward than that. Virtue's goal was I was going to say it's the icing on the cake, but it was earlier on in the game. But it just sort of crowned a really, really good performance from the four of them, that he was able to sort of contribute to the goals today. But yeah, I think he's a good player, and if we can play him in his right position, we'll get the best out of him. We've already mentioned that so many times, and hopefully Coach Critchley is listening to the pod again.
I think we've got to take credit for this. Tom, just as Tim and Matt have just said about Virtue's finish, but if you actually watch his technique, the way he strikes the ball, he doesn't follow all the way through when he hits them hard and low. It's a very difficult skill to do. Anyone who's played football, to keep a ball down hard and low and get it at an angle and keep it on the deck. It's a really difficult skill to master. And it's just a little flick of the boot and it's flowing into the top corner. It's just great to see Matty Virtue getting back on that central midfield and scoring goals.
Yeah, one thing we said before the game is why has he dropped Dougal, and I was not critical of the fact that Virtue was playing. I was just a bit annoyed because I really like Kenny Dougal, but him and Stewart today, as Matt's just touched upon, we didn't miss Dougal one bit. I have to admit, and just before the goal, we played a nice 1-2 on the edge, and I was about to say if we don't beat these today, then we won't deserve to sort of go on the run we go on, because I noticed as soon as we won the ball back, they were literally walking to try and close us down on the edge, which allowed us to sort of run through. And as you've said, the technique is, it's a weird one, but it's a very good one. And he keeps the shot really low, and it's in before the keeper sort of even got to the corner. So, what do you do Tuesday now? Because Stewart was phenomenal today as well. So,
leave it as it is. I think you can't disrupt that. Darren Pratley, let's just talk about him quickly. Got a long overdue yellow card on 42 minutes. And Tim, I think the writing was on the wall for him getting sent off in the game. Because he should have got booked before that, really.
I think the ref was very generous with Charlton in relation to the issue of the bookings. I mean, I think that was his fifth foul before he actually got the booking, which is, when you compare it later on, when Yates gets a yellow card for virtually nothing, and probably one of his first fouls, to the fact that we wait for 5 before he's carded is quite a surprise. But it was a complete. I can't remember a clean challenge that one of their defence made on any of our players at any point in the game. It was almost surreal. It was almost like, the only way we're going to get the ball is to clatter you, to pull your shirt, to trip you up, whatever it might have been, and they were shocking as defenders.
They were championship side as well. Weren't
they were garbage, and probably the worst defensive performance I think I've seen all season from any team. And
even
we might be close to them with that one, but it was really bad, and that's why I said at the beginning, I'm not sure how good we were as against how bad they were, and but those 4 defenders should need to get their heads a wobble tonight. I think they really do.
Sorry, Tim. I was going to say, absolutely conversely, you compare that to our back 4 and the work that obviously I would imagine that Colin Calderwood has done with them. We didn't mention earlier on that Stockley had a goal disallowed because the back 4 pushed up to make him offside. And then they seem to have got this happy knack of a unit, and that's what I was mentioning earlier about the way we're sort of playing at the moment, as a unit of just pushing forward at the right time and getting the offsides. And it sounds basic, doesn't it? It's the stuff that we all, could do to a level. But it's something that Charlton were just devoid of today, whereas we were like a well-oiled machine at the back, which is great. It's really, I'm not going to be sort of over the top too much, but things are starting to click, and the process is potentially coming into place, isn't it?
So their comms team, or they called the Pratley situation. If anyone remembers?
Yeah, all game virtually.
They knew he was going to get sent off, and they called it in 3 minutes into the second half. He stamped on Gabriel, and
the bizarre thing is, just take a step back from that, John. Bowyer makes 4. I won't even go into we will discuss what the commentator says slightly later, which is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. But obviously, Charlton make 4 subs at half time. They do a coach Critchley and make wholesale changes. And to be honest, in that scenario, you can see why he's doing it, because he's trying to get a reaction, isn't he? But the 2 players he leaves on, the 2 who've already been booked. So if you'd have thought, if anything, a little bit like we did later with Yates, that you would withdraw one of the players who particularly who looked like he was going to get sent off, but he left him on, and that decision will haunt him, because obviously within 2 minutes, he's walking up those rather bizarre steps.
It's like about a game show, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was off to see the wizard, wasn't he? That's where he was going.
I like Stephen. I like the yellow stairway of shame that they showed. I was like thinking, where's he going?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, if you're going to make 4 substitutions at half time and you're going to bring one player on called Matt Smith, you've absolutely got no chance. I'll tell you that.
There's loads of Matt Smiths kicking around, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few slightly better quality than I am.
Yeah, Sam's just sent me a message saying Bowyer's been all over the post-match interview, saying it wasn't a pen and complaining about things. So we'll play that at the end. So someone remind me. So let's touch on the red card. Tom, come to you. Your views on that?
Well, Gabriel puts in a strong challenge, doesn't he? And Gabriel has done what Gabriel's good at, and he just, maybe unnecessary, but he likes to put his foot in and make sure he knows he's made a tackle. And then he's just reacted to it. He's tried to either stamp on him or sort of go over him. And that's why he's reacted to it. And Gabriel stayed down very smartly, and that's why he's gave a second yellow. So, and he deserved to be sent off. So, it was a yellow in my opinion.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to take myself off. Oh, there we go. People moaning about someone else said about the mark. I don't get it. So we'll just have to crack on anyway. Back to the game then. 3-0 after 51 minutes, and another pen from the man, and I forgot to press it first time, Tim, so let's press it now.
Yeah, I've been calling for that to be added to our repertoire of sound effects for some time, and this is the one I think that Bowyer is a bit unhappy about, and to a certain degree, sort of with him. I think Jerry was shot by the man on the grassy knoll, because he went down. I'm not even sure there was a challenge. I mean, to be fair to their comms team, they sort of said it was, because you can't stick your foot out like that. But equally, I saw from the replay I saw, I just thought I couldn't see a touch. I just thought he went. And listen,
say though, that commentator called it straight away. Didn't he? The blow.
Yeah. And to be honest, the first time I thought it was a nailed-on pen, and then I saw the replay and I thought, you're like gone down a bit easy there, Jerry. But actually, I know he's on a sabbatical at the moment, but I noticed Phil Ricky on AVFTT sort of said it's quite good in some respects that we're showing, the team is showing a willingness to use what we might call the black arts. We looked very, very naive at the beginning of the season, and we were getting done over for it. And now we look like actually we're showing ourselves as being a bit smarter. Now, whether it's always the right way to play is another matter. But I'm still I need to see it maybe again to see whether Jerry went down as easy as it looked the second time. But that's what teams have been doing to us all season, every season. and if we're showing that little bit of nous and taking what's offered to us, then I'm not going to complain, to be honest, because it needs. We were far too that first 10 games or so. We were so naive as against the team that we see now, and it was in some respect in many. I don't think it was cheating. I just think he was touched, but made the most. I think he made the most of it.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I saw it that he actually sort of. It was like boot to boot, really, wasn't it? There was no sort of like massive sort of physical contact or anything, but Yates went down because he felt that, and he grabbed the ball, and he was halfway to the penalty spot by the time the referee had sort of blown his whistle for a penalty. He was adamant. It almost made the decision easier for the referee in that regard. But like you say, it's just a matter of being cute and professional. And I suppose these days, if it had got, let's be honest, if it had gone to VAR, they would have seen a touch. So therefore, they'd have given a penalty. And I know we see it in a different sort of light, don't we, in League 1 and 2 and lower than the Premiership. But I thought, when I first saw it, I thought it was a penalty instantly, albeit a bit soft. But there you go. And it was even shorter run up, wasn't it, on the second penalty? I thought
it wasn't the best of penalties, was it?
No.
Keeper had gone the right way down to his left, and
he kind
of dived over it.
Yeah, a little bit, wasn't he? He was a little bit weak with it, really. And whether maybe that's the sort of the mentality that Charlton unfortunately find themselves in. That if he was a bit stronger willed and all the rest of it, he could have saved it, and it would have been a different story perhaps for them. But the 3-0 down, they've got a man sent off. It's about the only time. Well, God, in I don't know how long, where I can be, sitting back and getting the cigars out, really. It's, unheard of for a long, long time for Blackpool fans.
Views on the pen, Tim? Do you think the keeper should have done better?
I'm struggling to remember where the keeper went. I know, obviously, I mean, it wasn't, I always like to see pens go right in the corner, either top corner or bottom corner, where they're unsavable. But there is a lot to be said sometimes for just drilling them down the middle or reasonably centrally, because the keeper's assuming you're going to go for a corner. So, but again, it was one of those where I just thought he's going to score, and he did, and he hit it hard, he hit it, and he got his foot behind it, and maybe the keeper, if he'd stood up or maybe just watched where it was going a little bit more, he might have been able to do better, but. Keepers and the players have to make very, very split second decisions on these things, don't they? And they're either heroes or, well, not quite villain. You're never quite a villain as a keeper if you don't save a pen, are you? But it's all about just guesswork a lot of the time, isn't it? And intuition as to where you think you should go. So no, I don't think the keeper could and should have done better. I just think it's hit hard, it's hit reasonably centrally, and it's at the back of the net. And well done, Jerry.
As Josh says there, if it goes in, it's a good pen. Hard to argue with that.
Exactly.
And as Steve just said there, game over at that point. I think that was the case. Matt, we've made a sub on 62 minutes. Dimitri Mitchell's come on for Sully Kaikai, who kind of petered out as he usually does. And it was a procession almost for the last third of the game.
Yeah, it was just game management, wasn't it? We were able to afford to take off certain players who Tim mentioned earlier that Yates was on a yellow card, so we were able to take him off, and I don't think that was a yellow card, by the way. There was one or two players Critchley was able to think of the next game, and that's probably influenced one or two other substitutions. So it was like I say, it was time to get the cigars out, start the car, as David Lloyd would say. It's easy.
Or put up a shelf, as Dan has put there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last half hour, it was easy.
Yeah.
Easy. How was your shelf though, Dan? Did you get your level on it? Anything fall off? The wheels certainly fell off Charlton's game on 85 minutes, didn't they, Tim? We had a second yellow card. Chucks Aniki for elbowing. Who was it? Was it Ballard?
Ballard, yeah. We all our hearts go into our mouths, don't they, when Ballard goes down? But thankfully, it was just a knock to his face, and he was able to get up and carry on. I mean, we never really got a zoom in on that, did we? They did a replay of it, but it's still from quite a distance. It's very difficult to tell whether there was any intent there. I mean, there's been an ongoing, there's ongoing debate since Adam was a lad, hasn't there, about is it natural movement when you go up to win a header that your arms come up anyway naturally?
Gone like that, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't. To me, in both didn't really see it the first time, and then when I saw it back on the replay, it was just too far to tell. I mean, his arm definitely goes up. There's no doubt about it. But the argument for me is that a natural movement or is it an unnatural movement? And either way, the ref saw it the way you did, John, and on the basis of that, he's going, isn't he? It's straight red, and he's up the yellow wall of the yellow steps of shame.
Yeah.
Stairway to heaven.
If you're gonna
stairway to an early bath.
I thought it was quite a harsh red card, I'll be honest, because equally when I think of when we think about Dan Ballard, he got sent off, didn't he, earlier in the season? Was it at Wimbledon away?
It was very similar to that one, really, wasn't it?
Fairly similar, wasn't it? And we were fairly, I don't know, we weren't happy with that decision, I don't think. And Ballard certainly wasn't. The way, if I remember right, he was sort of like kicking advertising hoardings on the way off the pitch and all that sort of carry on. So I didn't think it was personally a red card, but it's one of those where, it comes down to interpretation, and that's, for me, it wasn't an elbow. It was just getting levitation and trying to, compete. So, it just sort of sums up the way things seem to be going for Charlton at the moment. And unfortunately for us, we're getting these rubs of the green, it seems, at the moment.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
First win at Charlton since 1979, apparently.
So you'd have to be of a certain vintage to remember that, wouldn't you?
Correct, yes. I wasn't very old around then, but who remembers that time when we never won in London for years and years and years?
Yeah. It didn't matter where we went. I remember I went to Orient a few times. We used to go to Fulham.
Brentford.
The list goes on, doesn't it?
I blame the Basel lot, me. They must have. They needed. I don't know. We always used to turn out in numbers as well in London, mainly because of the Basel lot, to be fair. And every time I went to London, there was always like 750, even in the relatively poor days. And but yeah, you're right. I can't ever remember. Never. I've just think back to all the games I went, and I can't remember any wins.
The only time we win in London is at Wembley.
Yeah,
that's right. Just think how many league games you've actually been to yourself in London and seen us win. Does Wickham count as London? It's the outskirts, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd sort of.
Anything on the tube line, really, isn't it?
I can't think of ever seen Blackpool win.
We always used to get battered at Brentford.
We won it. I remember we won. I think the first time I saw us won. There might be another game, but I think Keith Southern scored late on at Leyton Orient, didn't he? I don't know what that was. I can't remember exactly the year. I'll be honest. I don't know if it was 2010 or whether it was before then. But
a couple of years before, I think.
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, Taylor Holman currently living in Tooting, so gutted couldn't go to this game. I used to live in Tooting back for 2.5 years. There you go. Their nearest team's Wimbledon, just down the road. It's not a good one to go to.
Citizen Smith in Tooting.
That's right, yeah. Power to the people.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
From a certain vintage
again. Another. For our younger viewers, Robert Lindsay.
Yeah,
was Citizen Smith, and he was, what was it called? The Tooting Popular Front, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
The two.
What's my internet then? Sorry about that.
Oh, there you go.
What's this? Phil said Watford 2013 again, though. Phil, is that London? It's Hertfordshire, isn't it?
It's the last. I think it's the last tube line into London, isn't it? Watford, I think, possibly.
It's in Hertford. I'm sure it's.
But it is Hertford. Oh, it's in Hertfordshire. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The Armfield Club says won at Orient in the boycott era. Bolton bus went in the home. I can't wait to see Ashley again, Tim.
No. Listen, when we're able to return to watch away games, I don't know whether that'll be the start of the next season or not. But there's some good road trips to be had, I think, on Bolton bus tours. I'm looking forward to them.
And he's got a pub in his back garden now, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He's got his own. He's got. I've seen it. I've not sampled. Well, no, actually, to be fair, I've sampled a half of its delights. But yeah, you can go around, watch the game, and and he's got his own brewery out in his back garden, which is quality. But hopefully, when social distancing allows, we can have a get together there.
Some competition there for the Armfield. Ashley's little pub. Right, let's get back to the show and the player ratings. So there's only two of you now. Tom's disappeared. So shall I do one as well in the rotation?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, Tim. Let's you can kick off then with Chris Maxwell.
I actually wanted Gabriel, but anyway, I'll take Chris. I thought I would say he had nothing to do, did he? I can't remember. He had to make one punch that I can think of.
Came for one high ball and
yeah, with the yeah, and what I always say about Maxwell is that his distribution's always good from the back, isn't it? His distribution's good. In that, when the ball comes back to him, you're always certain he's going to get something on it. I think it's a. I'm going to give him a 7.
He's done everything that's been asked of him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done everything that's been asked of him, but there's not a lot been asked of him. So I don't think it's an 8, and that's no disrespect to him. I just think he could have put his feet up in the second half, I think, and watched a bit of telly or something, because it's probably the quietest game he's ever going to have away from home, particularly I think against a team. Bear in mind, this is a team above us in the league, and he hasn't had to make one save, has he?
No. He could put his kit, fold it up, and just not even put it in the washing machine for Tuesday night, couldn't he? Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if they get the kits washed these days.
Oh, I hope so.
I'm quite glad he didn't concede, actually, because I won on a bet. I had £2 on Blackpool winning and not conceding a goal. So £8 in the back bin for tonight. They're retiring. Won't need your sound financial retirement advice now, Matt.
I'll sell you. Spend it.
Got me Learjet on order. Right, Matt, you can have Jordan Gabriel because Tim wanted him.
Jordan Gabriel. Yeah, just another good, solid. I mean, to be honest, you could say this for probably the majority of the team, really, but a good, solid performance. His defensive duties are sound now. He gives us the attacking option. I think you've just got to give him a good, solid 8 out of 10, really.
I think he was better than that.
Well,
I thought it was imperious today.
Imperious.
So I've muted him.
So you'd be a 9 then, presumably.
Look, I've muted him. He doesn't know.
It was your call. John won't let me have it. So,
speaking out of turn, she's kicked him off.
I've got to stick up for my faves.
What's that council meeting? She's kicked him off.
You have no authority here.
Tim Fielding, you have no authority on the Jordan Gabriel player rating. Read and understand it.
The standing orders, read them.
Right, me, Dan Bollard. Rock solid at the back. Didn't concede any goals. We never looked like conceding. Brilliant to have him back in there. I did notice him ordering all the older players around at one point as well, pointing people, you go there, do this, and ordering. So, not the captain, but a captain's performance, and I'm going to give him an 8. Over to you, Tim. I've just put James' husband in there. That's not the case, is it? It was Jordan Thornley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
I didn't even know he was playing.
No, well, it was one of those games where you didn't notice him, and now part of that is probably down to how crap they were going forward. But he got. I think he quietly went around about his business, didn't he? He went quietly about his business and was part of a very, very solid back four. So I think it's it's a 7. 7.
I've put John. John Kenny Dougal, no. Tim, you can have Luke. Tim. Matt, you can have Luke Garbutt. If I can find his little thing.
While you're finding that, I'll I'll say that I just thought it was, again, just another solid performer today, really. Didn't have much to do defensively. Attacking-wise was probably fairly conservative by his own sort of standards, but I think that's probably down to the pitch, if I'm honest. I think it was a case of just getting the ball, forward a little bit earlier and probably over the midfield as opposed to through the midfield. So a good solid 7 for me for Garbutt.
Kevin Stewart just kept the whole thing ticking over the midfield. Very rarely gave the ball away, which is what you want from midfielders. He's stopped them from starting the moves from the back, and yeah, it was another good performance from Kev, and he complemented Matty Virtue quite well in a Vaughan role. I'll describe that as, and I'll give him a very solid 7 as well. Tim, Matty Virtue.
I'm toying here between two scores. He's playing his proper position. He scores a worldie, and he was industrious throughout. I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to go for an 8, but it's nearly a 9. I think he was good. It was a great goal. I do think they were poor, but that's where he should be, and I'm looking forward to seeing Matty play plenty of games. I'm sure he's going to play plenty of games in that position this season. So it's an 8+ to use my just to indicate where it's at. It's really it was good. It was a great performance that today, Matt.
Thanks.
To use your player rating taxonomy. It's a Timism for you.
Oh, that is, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Bit of thinking.
You're learning.
Learning off the master. Grant Ward, Matt.
Well, one of the notes, I find him a better player in the middle of the park than I do outright, because I wrote a note down today that I said he just can't cross a road, unfortunately. I think he's got so much going for him. He's got good pace. He seems to have a good brain on him, footballing brain, and he works hard. I think he helps Gabriel a lot down the down the right hand side. But yeah, his final product, and in terms of getting the ball in the box, he's still missing really for me. But he did okay today, so I'll give him a good solid 7.
Sully Kai me. Did everything asked, but nothing spectacular. Nice through ball for Ellis Sims' goal. Faded, as he always does, so he's given us a decent 3rd, so I'll give him an average 7. Right, Tim, you've got the main man.
Jerry is now, for me, showing Blackpool fans what a great player he is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. In fact, Matt copied us into a tweet he put out, didn't he, after the game, about my team or something like that. And to be honest, as a Blackpool fan, that's just what you want to see from a player. I think he's starting I actually wrote in my notes that he was strutting. He was almost like
he's on the streets of Manchester with his top off.
Yeah, something like that. But what I meant by strutting was that he's supremely, at the moment, he seems supremely confident in his own ability and the ability of players around him. And that is, for me, making him a better player, and it's making Blackpool a better team. So he's holding the ball up, he's taking players on. I can't remember what it was in the second half. He was going down the right, and eventually he didn't get the foul, which I thought he should have got. But he just goes past players, and he's just supremely confident at the moment. And I thought it was a great performance today. And I'm actually going to push on here a bit, and it's a 9. I thought he was fantastic today. His penalties, it's nothing to do with the penalties, just the way he played. I just thought he was. They must look at our centre forwards today and think, why haven't we got that? And we've spent a lot of this season thinking we haven't got a forward line. It's not working. But I tell you what, it wasn't working before, but it's working like a dream at the moment. And he's an integral part of that. I thought he was excellent.
His footwork is It's a sight to behold, Matt, isn't it? At times he's got such quick feet and on the turn, close control. It's a joy to watch.
He is, and that I think that incident that Tim mentioned, I actually shouted at the TV as you do at the moment. That it could have gone for goal in a way, because it was similar in a way to last week, wasn't it, at Portsmouth, and that he's got so much confidence he can go from the halfway line and try and go for a goal towards a goal, but he ended up doing a few sort of step overs and eventually lost the ball. But you don't mind that when you're 3-0 up, obviously. But he's full of confidence, isn't he? And
may it continue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good player,
right.
Good player.
Right, Matt, just to close this section off, you've got Ellis Sims, his best performance in I would say tangerine shirt, but it wasn't. It was white. Orange, as the lady commentator called it.
Yeah, she's not the first, and she won't be the last. Unfortunately, God, it winds you up, doesn't it? Again, like you just said, it was his best performance in a tangerine shirt since he's joined us. Hopefully, he will get another start or two before Medine comes back to full fitness. It's nice to know now that he can replace Medine, and we've got confidence that when his name is in the first 11, that's what he's capable of doing. I mentioned earlier that I think we played the ball into him slightly differently today, a bit sort of flatter, if you will. And I think him and Yates are a handful. Playing the right way, playing to their strengths, we can get really good, results out of them. So for me, I think I think he's worth a 9 as well. I think the front two, and like I mentioned earlier, Stewart and Virtue behind them were really good today. So Sims 9 for me.
Hard to argue, right? This is going to be a tough one, Tim. Man of the match. Man of the match.
Yeah, it is. It is, it is. And to be honest, I would have Gabriel in there as a possible man of the match contender as well. Even though Matt downgraded him from what I think he was actually worth. Yeah. I struggle a bit, because for me, that was a consummate performance by Yates. But equally, Sims is a young lad learning his trade, and he really properly upped his game today. Yeah. And I think on that basis and that basis only, I'm going to give it to Sims. I just think he showed today the player he can be. Whether it's long term with us, I'm not sure. But if he can play like that in the 19 game running, we are going to be a lot better side than we'd otherwise be, and that's a great compliment to a young lad who's learning his trade. Excellent today, excellent performance, and definitely a 9. As I agree 100% with Matt's assessment of 9. So I'm going to go man of the match with him.
Matt,
yeah. I think Sims also was man of the match, although it's a fine line, quite frankly, between 3 or 4 other players. It was one of those games, really, when you think back, it wasn't actually a game where anybody massively stood out, I don't think. Sims he improved, and I think that's the way he sort of stood out to us. And obviously the commentators were sort of, gushing over him quite a lot, which might have sort of highlighted that a little bit more than 1 or 2 other players. But I just thought collectively the team were really, really good today, really professional, really solid. And I think that was just as pleasing as any individual performance I've seen all year, really. So I'll give Sims the man of the match, but I hear what Tim said about Gabriel, and I could have given it Virtue as well, or Yates, quite frankly. So, it's all good, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's all good.
Gabriel gets my vote. Very, very, just slightly ahead of Sims, because he's been a revelation at right back last 5-6 games, and solid, never puts a foot wrong, and offers a great attacking threat going forward. So Jordan Gabriel gets my nod. All right, just before we go, let's have a quick look at the league table.
It's probably a case of where the table does lie a bit, isn't it?
I bet we're 12th, aren't we? I've not
I think 13th we are.
Really?
But what's interesting now, I think, is if you look at that table and look at all the teams just under the playoff spots. So if we start with Accrington there, we've got 2 games on every one of them, at least 4 on some others. And even with Doncaster, obviously Doncaster just in that last spot, we've got to play them. And if we can beat that and look at their perform at the moment, it's really frustrating we didn't play them the other night. If we can,
lost, drawn, lost.
If we can take the 3 points off them, then they're on 28. Then with our game in hand, we can push up on them. But we're really getting really close now. And then you look, you go into the playoff spots above Doncaster, and they've all played 3, and in one case 5 games more than us. And we've got the momentum, but the question is, can we keep it up, and how long can we keep it up for? Because it is, we're only just, from our perspective, only just over the halfway point in the season. We're moving a little bit away, probably 60% into the season. And those 4, if you look at, let's just take 2 games. If we can win those 2 games in hand, that puts us on 49 points. That's in the playoff spots already, isn't it?
I think the interesting thing as well is it's when we play. I mean, Tuesday night obviously we play Crewe, and it's when we play the likes of Crewe, who are literally a point above us, and all of a sudden, if we can beat them, that we jump up quite well.
Look how bunched up it is, Matt. Bunched it is in there. Yeah,
it's massively bunched now from as compared with a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically. I think looking at that table, it's probably from. I mean, Milton Keynes, I know they're on a pretty decent run, even though the last couple of results wouldn't say that, but they have been. But it's pretty much from us upwards, isn't it? In terms of who's going to get into the playoffs. So yeah, all definitely to play for. And there's still some strange results out there, isn't there? I mean, Plymouth beat Lincoln. I mean, I don't think they've conceded more than 2 all season in a match since probably we played them, and they put 4 past them today. And
Oxford have started to stutter a bit as well, haven't they?
Yeah, and
today against MK Dons.
Yeah, and teams, Sunderland have obviously drawn against Crewe today, which probably in isolation is not a bad result when you look at the league table, but they were 2-0 down, so they're susceptible. These teams are conceding quite a few goals, and this is where we're not. And I think if we can manage to nudge ahead in games, we've got to be so confident that we can keep a clean sheet at the moment, almost irrespective of who seems to be playing at the back.
I think we've only let in 2 goals in the last. Is it 2 goals in the last 6 games?
6. Yeah. Well, it might be 7 now after today, I'm guessing.
Yeah, maybe 7. So that's an incredible statistic, isn't it? And that reverses what we've been saying in the first part of the season, where we've been talking about not scoring enough. But if you do keep clean sheets, it's a bit it's a bit of a cliche, but you're going to pick up points, aren't you? And we look solid, and we we actually look better going forward now. We're actually scoring goals where beforehand we're only getting an average of 1 a game. Now we're scoring probably an average of 2 a game, which is what's going to win you points.
Yeah,
as Robbo says there, Tim, in a comment, he did say a couple of times a few shows ago the goal difference, but those games against Wigan and today, that's +8 to our column. We're always on a negative goal difference, and that could come into the mix towards the end of the season. When
and if you look at our stats over the last 10 or 12 games, they're going to, as compared with other teams, they're going to look a lot more favourable than that. That is a legacy of our first 10 games. And probably 15 games where we just weren't scoring goals, and at one point we're conceding far too many. So I think if you look at the form, I'm not talking about the last couple of games. That speaks for itself. But if you look over, I said in the last pod, didn't I? If you looked at our form over the last 19 games at that point, we'd averaged 1.73 points a game, and that's moved up a bit since. Obviously, as a result of today's win. But and that includes lots of defeats as well as wins. But that is playoff form. I think automatic's beyond us, in all honesty. But I genuinely now think we've got a chance. But it's whether we can keep playing. But again, I come back to the fact we've got 6 players not played today. It's not like we've got like Aki have, where they've probably got 13 or 14 players who can make the first team, and if they lose a couple of them, they'll start to drop, which obviously their results have tapered off a bit. But we have got strength in depth, and I think that might just be enough to take us over the line.
Mm-hmm. I think we can certainly be a lot more optimistic in the next sort of it's the old cliche, isn't it, of one game at a time. But if we can get another good couple of good results, particularly on Tuesday. I think that's important, really. If we can beat a team that's actually above us in the table, and then move on to who do we play on the Saturday? Anybody know?
Wimbledon,
who we should win.
Then Burton. I think we've got Burton after that.
Yeah, now they're on a good. But Burton are on a good run, aren't they? So they've won 5 out of 7, I think, something like that. I think, but if we can beat Crewe, then we all of a sudden the table looks massively different. And I think the players are confident, and I think confidence breeds. When you get results, confidence breeds. Sort of like that. It just goes to a different level, is what I'm trying to say, really. So I think the players will look at the table. I'm sure they do. Although Critchley said he doesn't, I'm sure he does. And feel if we can get a win on Tuesday night, then we're really, really, right in amongst it.
For League One analysis, viewers, listeners, we've got a new show coming up actually called The Third Tier. I don't know if I've told you two about this actually. Tom's putting this together, so it's going to be a show just dedicated to League One. We're going to get a couple of fans from League One on this show, so we're going to be getting some good analysis of every single team from supporters of those teams. That's going to be something we're going to be doing going forward. So stay tuned for that, viewers/listeners. Right, just before we go, we've got Crewe at home on Tuesday night. Tim, how do you think we're going to get on? We've got to be going into this game with great confidence, haven't we?
We have. I think Crewe are in reasonably good form as well. They were your pre-season tip, weren't they, to do
my boys, my dark horses,
a lot better than the rest of us thought, at least. So that's been proven well founded. So I'm a little bit worried. I don't know why. I just think I don't know. I'm always a glass half full anyway, rather than glass half empty rather than glass half full. I just funny feeling it might be a draw, but I'm hopefully not. Hopefully we can build on what we've done over the last few games, and it's all these games, as you just said, haven't you? All these games against teams just above us take on this huge additional significance now, and everyone's a 6-pointer, isn't it? The old cliched 6-pointer, but it genuinely is, because it's so tight up there, and it just gives you, any team you can leapfrog over and keep those games in hand preserved against them is that step closer to where we all want to be at the end of the season. So
we're going to beat them, Tim. That's a bit of confidence for once.
We'll go on. I'll be the negative and say it might be. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
I think we're going to win 2 or 3-0. Matt, what's your views?
I think I feel confident. I think we'll win 1-0, and so long as it stays about 5 degrees and doesn't rain, I think the match will be on as well.
I know putting some holes in the pitch. Is that what you were going to say? Tim?
Yeah, the verti drains. I think they've done, haven't they? There was a tweet of some blue van outside the ground, wasn't there? And I've actually retweeted. They've said that they've been at Blackpool doing some emergency work, and it looks like verti drains, which is where you just create a hole and they're then filled with sand, which allows the water to drain away better.
Probably won't rain now for the rest of the season.
No, it'll be bone dry now, won't it? Bison's is confident, isn't it? And Mac's confident. Maybe my pessimism is misplaced.
Didn't we beat Crewe 6-0? I'm going back a few years. I think I remember we beat
6-1. It was at home. I remember us beating 6-1.
Yeah, it must have been that. Yeah, 6-1, and then I think we beat Swindon 6-something the following.
Yeah, the following day. That was in the 80s.
Yeah,
Matt, though.
Oh God, was it?
It wasn't a couple of years ago.
No.
How much have you been drinking, Matt?
Oh, just
only about 35 years ago, Matt.
Oh, dear. I did actually say yesterday I was anyway. I was going to say I wasn't going to be drinking this weekend, but when you're 3-0 up away from home, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Enjoy yourself on these sort of results. Come in. Right, we're on an hour 10. We're not going to have time to play the Lee Bowyer interview. It goes on for 10 minutes, so we'll call it a day. So we'll just finish off by saying please like and subscribe to this video if you do like our content. Be appreciated. Helps us get up those algorithms. If you don't like it, up them. And on that note, I think we'll say goodbye. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for getting into the comments. Does make the show better, etc. So like I say, watch out for the Third Tier show. Just follow that on the socials. We'll be announcing when that will be, probably Monday, I think. I'm going to speak to Tom. Watch us on the Tuesday night match reaction show. And all that remains to be said is thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. 3-0. And up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.